I'd like to thank Aaron Swerchesky for being here with us this morning. He's the Eastern States Training Managers for Stanley Black & Decker and DeWalt. And he's going to talk to us today about DeWalt concrete and anchor solutions. So with that, Aaron, I'll go ahead and turn the floor over to you, and you can give a more in-depth background about what you do and the products that you are going to talk to us about today. Thank you.
Sure, perfect. Thanks, Jay. So my name, as you said, is Aaron Swerchesky. That if there's anything you take out of this this hour, if you need any sort of help or assistance out in the field there, that's my contact info, my cell number, my email, text, whatever's easiest for you guys. I kind of run a little bit independently of the sales team, so it's a little more product application questions. You know, what do you have that can do this, or how do I do this more effectively, or maybe even safer, you know, in a safer method. So absolutely utilize me as a resource. I've been on the DeWalt side, started on the DeWalt side of Stanley Black & Decker about 13 years ago, and have had various roles out in the field, and then also back in at corporate back in Connecticut here at our home office. So excited to be back out in the field again in a training capacity as one of our field trainers, and looking forward to getting out into the field more. Seems like it's opening up and opening up. Hopefully we continue down this road and we don't go back into a travel ban, but at this point we're looking pretty good for getting out and visiting customers. So look forward to someday meeting you all in person. With that, this is really what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about concrete, and the reason being is a good portion of what you all do on a day-to-day basis is this. And you know, we can kind of talk about residential, or we could talk about commercial. And today we're talking about commercial, and majority of commercial buildings being made up of brick or block or cement or concrete and steel and metal, right? So we're going to talk about concrete solutions. If you think about the offering that we have overall, you know, as a whole, if we're looking at just cordless tools, we're looking at about 240 connected tools on the same platform right now. So there's overall a really strong offering for you know, your crew or yourself out in the field that all work off of the same platform. So whether it be an impact driver for assembly, or roto hammers, or you know, I've got cable strippers and threaded rod cutters and cable cutters, all of these different tools that kind of check the boxes for a lot of your core applications that obviously help you to get your job done on a day-to-day basis. We're going to go a little more specific than that today, and again, kind of get back to a situation like this where we're hanging threaded rod from the ceiling, or you see some clips up there for cable, looks like maybe for the fire suppression system, or maybe we're putting a trapeze together for a run of conduit. So the idea here is we're really going to focus on the total concrete solution. And when I say total concrete solution, I mean really everything that you need to get that assembly hanging from the ceiling or mounted to the wall. So that's the tool, so a roto hammer, obviously, or a hammer drill. That's the accessory. So we're talking, you know, a full run of carbide bits. That's the dust shroud, because now with the OSHA regulations, if I disturb existing concrete, I need to have some sort of way to mitigate that silica exposure or that dust exposure. So we're going to talk about that real quick too, with the offering as far as dust containment. And then the last one being the probably the biggest for us is anchoring, and that's, you know, the product that you're putting into the building or the facility day after day after day, and the different solutions there. Because really at the end of the day, you know, when I'm talking to guys out in the field, there's two things that matter, and it's productivity and it's safety. So we want to make sure everyone comes home in the same method that they left in the morning. Everyone comes back with fingers and toes and continues to you know, to return to work in a safe manner. And then we got to talk about productivity, because those two equal profitability. That's how you all make money. So the more productive I can make you, and the safer I can help to make your job site, the more valuable I am as a partner, right? So we're gonna really dive into anchors. We're gonna go through these first three steps here, and then we're gonna spend the majority of our time in the next 30 or so minutes talking about the anchoring process. If we step back before all this even comes into play, we do have some solutions for your engineers too. So we have a new program called HangerWorks PRO. This is, I think, our third iteration of HangerWorks. So we had a HangerWorks and then a 2.0, and now we're at Pro, and it's been getting rave reviews. We launched this at the beginning of the year. It's got some really valuable upgrades and kind of additional capabilities from the first two versions that we had. So now we can kind of calculate hotspots or point loads very easily. We can look for clash detection, and this all just plugs into a Revit program. So if you're going through your weekly meetings and so forth with the other trades, or you have your meetings with the engineering group or the EOR, they can utilize this to really help you lay out any of your hangars that are going to be done overhead. Okay. The nice thing about this is it does it, a lot of it is automated, so it really saves a lot of time, but it also kind of checks a lot of the boxes as far as are there collisions, are there clashes out there, is there areas of the building that are just under too much load, what are the point load layouts, and so forth. So really cool program. If that's something that your team might be interested in, feel free to reach out to me and we can get a demo set up on that. But wanted to kind of give a shout out to that because we're pretty proud of it, and it seems to be really taking off across the field. So kind of going back to the tool piece, we spoke about the 240 tools. Kind of again going back to productivity, this is a big piece of that. This is a 4-port charger, and what is really unique to DeWalt versus a lot of our competitors is all of our battery platforms. And so our 12-volt tools, our 20-volt tools, and then our higher capacity 60-volt tools all utilize the same charger. So I can have a 4-port charger like this in a job box or a NAC box or in a service truck, and I can have a 12-volt battery in here that I use for my laser for layout work. Or I can have a 20-volt tool, for my impact drivers and my smaller roto hammers. Or maybe I'm doing some larger work and I need a giant stud and joist drill, or I need to cut some concrete, or I have a 2-inch roto hammer. All of those batteries all work off the same charger. So you're not hunting around, you're not looking for, okay, what charger works with what system and what tool and so forth. They all work together in this family of charging system. Okay? The other thing that's kind of unique to us is I can take a 20-volt tool and I can put a larger battery on there. Okay, so this would historically it would ship with a 20-volt battery. Now I can put this flex volt battery on there. I have bigger runtime. I have more cells in here to generate more runtime, and I can run this tool for a longer period of time. Okay, so you kind of have that reverse compatibility with our larger capacity battery. Cool. All right, so getting into the concrete piece of this, this is kind of the meat and potatoes of the RotoHammer lineup. So we have an SDS Plus, and obviously we have an SDS Max, which are the larger diameter hammers. And we've got the largest offering of both right now currently on the market in cordless offering. So we have more cordless SDS Plus hammers than anyone, and we have more cordless SDS Max hammers. And that range goes from a 5/8 hammer, which I'll show you in a second. It's a brand new ultra compact, all the way up to our 2-inch roto hammer that obviously runs off of that larger flex volt battery pack. So for overhead work and for most of our anchoring, this is really the lineups. We have D handle and we have L shape, depending on your preference. So excuse me, an L shape kind of looks like this, kind of speaks to the orientation of the motor, and then the D handle is a little bit longer and has a little bit narrower nose. So maybe you've used a Bosch Bulldog in the past and you like the configuration of that, or maybe you've used the TE product from Hilti and you like that configuration. We kind of have both that you can choose from depending on what the crew is used to using. Okay, and then we have them with or without dust extraction. So I can take this off and we can utilize a separate system, or I can use this to drive in drop-ins as a hammer, and I can take the onboard dust off of it. Okay. We have L shape and D handle. We have with and without dust extraction. And then we have essentially two different sizes. We have the 1-inch offering for your smaller anchors, call it 5/8 and below. Maybe actually you could probably get into like a 3/4 if you wanted to, but for the most part, you're looking at 5/8 and below. And then we have the 1 1/8 for those larger, heavier anchors and larger diameter holes that you need to drill. Okay. And then new to the market, this one just came out. In fact, I don't even have one with me to share. I've got it out in the field. is our subcompact. So this is a 5/8 rated hammer, and it weighs all in with battery less than 4 pounds. So when we're talking about anchoring and we're talking about threaded rod and working overhead, that's a big deal. You know, if you're doing that all day long and you're drilling all day long overhead, being able to save a pound or two is really pretty beneficial. So we're very excited about this. It's doing really well. The initial feedback is phenomenal. And we're talking, you know, really anything up to 3/8, but the sweet spot is those 1/4 inch. Maybe I'm putting in a Hangermate like this, or a drop in at a smaller diameter all day long. Okay. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we get into 1 1/4 inch. So we just launched this as well. So this is a kind of our heaviest of the SDS Plus lineup. This is going to be for your larger diameter holes. Maybe you've got to drill a 1-inch hole because you're putting in a street light or something to that effect, and you need to do some epoxy work or some adhesive work, or you're maybe doing some heavier chipping and you need to break out some concrete to get some access through a foundation, right? So so we kind of have both ends of the spectrum expanding, but always using that same battery platform. Okay? The other nice thing about it, and you see on this slide here, we have the shocks. So there's the vibration on all of our hammers. We have an E-clutch, which is the design to protect you against bind up. And then everything that we make for concrete, again, will have some sort of dust collections. So we're really checking all the boxes as far as safety goes, you know, with all of our roto hammers. So all of our hammers now are full featured and will offer all of these benefits. Okay. Sound good? So to kind of complement that, we have the lineup of dust collection. Okay, and there's a couple pieces to this. There's the extractors, or what collects the dust, and then there's obviously the shrouds, and that's, you know, that's what fits on the tool or connects to the tool to help collect that dust as well, right at its point of impact. Everything that we make is Table 1 compliant. So there's a couple different ways to manage your 1926.1153 compliance. You can do water mitigation, you can do air sampling, you can do objective data collection. So there's different methods, but by far the easiest and most simple way is Table 1. So everything that comes from us that's yellow is Table 1 compliant, and we call it out right on the tool. So if I have something as small as the little, we call this the DUDE, the Universal Dust Extractor, or DeWalt Universal Dust Extractor. If I have something as small as this is going to be Table 1 compliant because it has the 3 things that are needed. It has a HEPA filter, and the HEPA filter is cleanable, so I can push this to clean it and backflow air through it. And then it has a commercially available shroud, or a shroud that is purchased for the point of collecting dust. Okay. And when I say commercially available, that's basically to eliminate, you know, poking a hole in the bottom of a Solo cup or in the bottom of a Gatorade bottle and drilling overhead, because that's obviously not designed for that purpose. So we're going to do a commercially available shroud like the accordion system. We're going to have a HEPA system, so not just a HEPA filter, but a HEPA system. So this will contain all of the dust, and then we have that cleanable filter. Okay. So all of our extractors check those boxes. And then we have a shroud for every tool that we have made and every tool that we are making. So we're always at that Table 1 compliance. So we look at the vacs, or the extractors. There's 4. So there's 2 that are corded. This is our flagship. That's this one here. This is a 10-gallon. This is, you'll love this. This is the DWV 012, or the 012, and that's our 10-gallon. And then we have the 010, which is our 8-gallon. Makes perfect sense, right? Both of these are 150. Actually, the larger one is 155 CFM. Okay, so the CFM is the volume of air that it can draw. They both will have remote turn on. So if you have a corded tool, we can plug it in here. As soon as I pull the trigger on the tool, the extractor starts up and begins to do its thing. This one here is a self-cleaning filter. So every couple of seconds, it'll go through a period where it switches between the 2 filters, the 2 HEPA filters. So you see that little image up in the top right there. It'll draw through one filter and backflow and purge the other one to clean it. And then it'll reverse the cycle, and it'll clean the first filter and backflow or dry air through the second. Okay. The HEPA filters can be cleaned. What we ask, or what we tell you to do, is to clean them with water. So we don't want to use compressed air to clean the filters, because we have really fine pores in there. That's why those filters are what they are, why they're so expensive. So as soon as we start to blast that with air, and we get to these micro tears, and it kind of defeats the purpose of having that filter to start with. So so we tell you to wash it out, to spray it out, rinse it, let it dry overnight. You can pop the filters back in, and you're off and running. Okay. We also have paper bags and fleece bags, as well as plastic bags. If you're doing like RRP or lead abatement, or you're in a situation where there's lead paint, so we have that containment available as well. Okay, so that's the largest one. Second one, similar situation, just smaller tank, and 5 less CFM. So a little bit smaller unit, a little bit easier to manage and to get around, but still full featured. Okay. The other thing you see on these is they're all what's called airlock based. Okay, so I have my hose here, and let's say I'm walking through a hospital or maybe a data center, and I can connect the hose to itself. So all the residual dust in here is locked in place. When I get to my work site, I give that a quarter of a turn. Kind of see the dust coming out there. I'm going to plug it into the extractor, but then all of our shrouds have this quick connect fitting. So I can put that in there, give it another quarter turn, and it's a positive engagement. So positively locks and swivels. So I can actually tug the extractor around with me. I don't have to worry about taping this. If I stick this to the wall, it's going to always be connected, and it's a positive lock there. Okay. So both of our extractors come with that hose. I can also extend the hose, so if I wanted to connect a second one to it. So I have a lot of benefits there. If you have other extractors, we do sell that airlock fitting, so we can connect our shrouds to other extractors, or you could just use them in like a friction fit or a press fit kind of situation. Okay. Then the other two we have are both cordless. So we have a flex volt or a 60 volt motor, the DCV 585. That's this unit right here. This works off of the larger battery that we use. This is going to be at 125 CFM, still has the airlock, but it's a 2-gallon capacity. Okay, so this is perfect for maybe sitting on the edge of a scissor lift or a genie lift, and I'm up doing some overhead work. It's nice and compact, or maybe I have to go in and do a service call and I just want to carry in a smaller extractor versus having to wheel something in. This one has wireless tool control. So you see a little remote there that we can use to turn the extractor on and off. So if I'm working overhead and I'm drilling a couple holes, I can turn it on and off, so I'm not wasting the battery, just having it run all day long. Okay. Going forward, all of our new roto hammers will actually have that embedded into it. So when you pull the trigger, it will turn on the extractor and vice versa. Okay. And then the smallest unit is at the 20 volt. This is the one that I showed you earlier. This uses a dust collection box similar to the onboard system that I showed you earlier. So it utilizes boxes. Here it is. Utilizes the this clear box here, and that will fit on any of our onboard units as well. So we use one dust box to keep it nice and simple and standardized. Okay, and then I'm not going to go through all of these, but you see every hammer that we have in play right now, we have some sort of dust collection system, and then we have some like the 050 that you see there, that's a universal. So if you've got hammers from other competitors, then they can still utilize our dust extraction system to collect the dust and to make sure we're OSHA compliant. And that goes all the way up to our largest breaker, the pavement breaker at 68 pounds. Okay. Again, we're kind of looking at having all the bits that are necessary, having the tools that are necessary, the dust management, and then now into the anchors and fasteners. And there's really only us and Hilti that can offer you this total solution here. And obviously, I'm a little biased, but I think we've got a pretty good offering to go against those guys in red. So for anchors, this is kind of what the lineup looks like. We have everything from light duty mechanical, which is what we're going to spend the rest of the time today on, and then we get into chemical or adhesives and direct fastening, which is your powder actuated or your gas nailers or your cordless nailers. Okay, so we'll talk about the last two a little bit, but again, we're going to spend the most amount of time on mechanical because we know where you guys work and play, it's all about threaded rod and those hangers, or it's about mounting equipment and making sure that equipment is kept stationary. Okay. So two types of anchors. There's cast in place. That typically would look like this here. This is a what we call a bang it or a wood knocker. Okay, so these go in before concrete building is poured. So we're going to put those in play. We're going to pour the concrete. Concrete cures. When the form is removed, then we have our anchors in place. Or we have post install. Okay, post install go in like this. So the concrete is already cured. You actually see some cast in place in the distance there where that black pipe is hanging. There's a little orange wood knocker that's kind of poking through the concrete. On the left, you see some Hangermates for the threaded rod that kind of look like this, that are sitting a little bit proud to the ceiling. She's adding in another one. So maybe they did use cast in place, but they need to add an additional run, or maybe the cast in place anchor was kicked out of place, or it was knocked out of play in the pouring process, or maybe it just the total layout was done incorrectly and it's a couple inches off. So post install could be a correction for a cast in place that was done incorrectly, or post install could just be done as the method of putting in the anchors. Okay. So for post install, when we're drilling into the concrete, there's a lot of different mechanisms or a lot of different methods to do that. So there's expansion anchors, which are the most popular, particularly displacement. So displacement could be something like this, like a little drop-in. There's screw type anchors. So we have screw bolts like that, or our Hangermates that I'll talk to you about in a bit. And then there's undercut, and those are really for your ultimate loads, your ultimate shear and tension loads, because those will drill a hole. Then we're going to expand the bottom of that hole. We're going to have that positive engagement with the anchor in the bulb or in the ball of that hole inside the concrete. It kind of look like this. So you have your power studs or your wedges, then you have your sleeves, which are very similar, but they operate better for different applications. Then you have your drop-ins, your screw type, your mini undercut, which is ideal for rod hanging when there's post-tension cable in play, and then your atomic undercuts. Okay. So for rod hanging, again, drop-in is probably the most popular. This is what everyone has seen and a lot of you have used. There's definitely some positives to this. It's kind of the universal, they're very inexpensive. The cons to them are, as you see on the right, there's no approvals on these for cracked concrete. So when we're talking about building code and when we're working with the engineer, there are no drop-ins on the market that carry any ICCS approvals or code approvals. Okay, so they're a quick fix, they're a good fix. The other issue is when the inspector's looking at them, there's no way to tell if they've been installed correctly. So it could be 11 o'clock on a Monday, and the installer is fresh off of a nice relaxing weekend. He drills the hole. He really spends the time with the setting tool to drive that anchor in, does it correctly, does it in the appropriate manner, and it's set and it's in place perfectly. Or it could be Friday at 3 o'clock and you're getting ready to go up to the lake or getting ready to go to deer camp, and you drill the hole, you knock it twice to kind of check the box, and then you put the threaded rod in. And in that case, it's probably not set correctly, but just looking at it and trying to identify those is virtually impossible for anyone or for an inspector. And that's why, again, that doesn't carry that code approval. So there's a couple of kind of improvements on the drop-in, I should say. We have what's called a smart PI. This still does not carry code approval, but it works in a little bit quicker and a little bit easier manner. And it actually expands a little further, so these teeth go out a little bit further with less effort. So instead of just smashing away with a hammer or with a sledge, now I can utilize slide the setting tool over it, and now I drive the drop in with the hammer as well. So it kind of eliminates that additional tool and the overhead wear and tear on your body of hitting it with a hammer. Again, still no code approvals, but a nice productivity play, and it makes it a little bit quicker and a little bit easier to install. For code approval in this space, there's two. There's either a snake. So a snake looks very similar. Everyone's over here. Snake looks very similar. Okay, but it's gonna screw into the concrete. So I'm gonna drill a hole in the same manner I did for the drop-in, but then I'm going to add this little insert tool that sits on the front of an impact. This locks in, and I'm going to spin this up and drive this into the hole with the impact driver. And when this sets flush, this will actually cam out, so I know I'm going to set it at the correct depth every time. Okay, so I send it in, and this will cam out. I go to my next one. And I know with snakes that if they're sitting in there and I've drilled the correct diameter hole, then they've been installed correctly. Okay, we have those in the 3 sizes, and then obviously they're using setting tool for those. And when I say 3 sizes, we're talking about the rod sizes: 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2. Okay. Again, no use of the hammer. So we're using 2 tools. We're using the roto hammer to drill the hole, and then we're using an impact driver to drive the anchor in. Really fast, and it carries that ICC code approval for cracked concrete. So nice benefit there. The other one, or the other version that we have that is probably one of our top sellers, are what are called Hangermates. And in this one, you see, I think 3rd over from the left is our most popular. Okay, and that's going to be female end. So this would be for 3/8 rod. So I'm going to drill the hole. I'm going to drive this up with a socket, because it's a socket driven head on the top here, and then my threaded rod. The threaded rod is inserted. Get it there. There we go. Right into the bottom of the anchor. Okay. So what's nice about Hangermates, this is our most popular style, but if you see on this slide, we've got them for concrete, we've got them for wood, we've got them with a self-tapping tip for metal. So regardless of what kind of medium you're drilling into, we have some sort of solution for that. And then there's a ton of different heads. So I can go to a male stud, and I can put a coupler on here, or I can do 90 degrees. Getting into any seismic situations or where we need additional bracing, we have these here that pivot. So I can put this in at a 45, so that I could drill my main hanger into the concrete, and then maybe this is going into a steel support on the side with that self-tapper tip on there. So a lot of different options in the Hangermate category, and all of them carry that ICC approval. Okay, so really good offering. Sell a ton of these, and it's really kind of the go-to for anyone in the trades that's looking to utilize threaded rod. The boxes are, as you see below, have the different labels. So gray is concrete, pink is wood, metal is kind of that turquoise color. The other nice thing is on that label, it tells you what diameter bit you need, what diameter socket you need to drive the fastener, what the embedment is, and then what the max torque is to install it. Okay, so it's all written out real nice and simple for you. So we talk about those 3 or 4 different options. So the drop-ins, we talked about the Hangermates or the screw-ins, and then we talked about the snakes. And the biggest thing here is that second line. It's the speed of installation. We see when we're doing a drop-in, we talk to guys out in the field, girls out in the field. They're going to drill the hole. They need to get the setting tool. They're going to drive that in till it's set correctly, and then they're going to thread in the threaded rod. And typically that speed of installation, obviously there's some folks that are faster than others, but we're looking around 2 to 3 minutes for an install on those. Okay, whereas the other 2 are driven with an impact and can go much faster. So it's drilling the hole and then driving it in with the impact. So we're talking sub 1 minute install time for each of those, or about 30 seconds. And when we're talking about profitability and productivity and getting the job done faster so you can get on to the next project, that is a big piece. And it's not always the cost of the fastener, it's actually the cost of that total installation, or the cost of actually fastening. Okay. So with like a drop in, you know, we're talking box cost here on that anchor cost. So, you know, we're looking at about $30 a box versus maybe $50 a box. But when we start to factor in the, you know, the time savings and the installation costs, you can really save yourself a good amount of money on the back end, and having a lower overall installation fee or a lower overall installation cost. Okay. I think you're all familiar with the different applications that are out there in the field. This is a few examples. The other thing that we didn't talk about yet is equipment mounting. So we do have a full run of screw bolts like this, or the wedge anchors, which we call SDs, where we would drill a hole, and then obviously we would mount a plate or mount a piece of equipment to that concrete. So full run for equipment mounting as well as the rod installation. Okay. So that's all post install. That's all drilled into existing concrete. Then we get into cast in place, which looks like this. So cast in place, again, like I said earlier, is done before the concrete is poured. Okay, so we have two options or two kind of situations you see in this screen. There's wood forming, where they're going to use what's called a wood knocker. That's what all those little colored pieces are that are already tapped in or already hammered into play. And then on the right side, we're using pan decking or corrugated decking, and we see a couple of different things. We see some DDIs that we'll talk about. We see some bangets, and then we see some bridge bars to help to cover the different styles of flutes. Okay. So a lot of different situations or a lot of different opportunities there for some serious time saving on the back end. Because if you think of it, if we can get these anchors in before the concrete is poured, okay, then we don't even have to drill. So it's a matter of pulling the form off, or if it's pan decking like this, the pan decking, I'm going to drill a hole. I'm going to step on that anchor. It's going to poke through, and this is what I'm going to see from the ceiling. I have my plastic sleeve to protect it from fire stop, but I just basically can screw my threaded rod in there, and I don't have to worry about the time it takes to drill overhead, and I don't have to worry about, you know, dust compliance and all of that. So a lot of labor savings and a lot of time savings and ease of installation on the back end. The downside is we need to have some sort of robo station or layout station to help to get these accurately placed within the facility. Okay. So our three methods look like this. These are kind of the cross cuts. On the left, you see the pan decking. That's the bang it, and then you see the concrete is poured over it, and it really just locks in that top half of the anchor. The wood knocker, same thing. That's hammered to the form, and then concrete is poured. It's completely encased and capsulized inside there. The form is pulled off, and what you have left looks like this. So you'll just see a colored spot, which are the sizes are color coded, and then from there, I'm just going to poke through the membrane, insert the threaded rod, and thread it in. Okay. And then the last one is what we call a PDJ, or a DeWalt deck insert. That kind of looks like this. So I'm going to drill a hole through the pan decking, and this stud is going to drop down below and stick out over the ceiling. And then from there, I can either add a coupler. So if I needed to add additional length to the threaded rod, I can add a coupler, or I can just utilize this as my hanger. Okay. So the reason why we have three is, or actually there's more than three, there's a whole bunch of different sizes. It's for all the different trades. So we kind of see, you know, there's some exceptions to this rule, but electrical is typically quarter through half. You know, our mechanical guys maybe getting into some heavier equipment, go up to 5/8. Plumbers, because of the weight of the material in the pipes and so forth. We see some higher load values there, and we get into 3/4 inch threaded rod and so forth and so forth. Okay. So for us, this is what we're going to kind of focus on here, is these three. And what's really nice is now with the invention of triple threads, I can utilize a single anchor and cover the 1/4, the 3/8, and the 1/2 inch sizes all together. So I don't have to worry about getting three different sizes of bangets or wood knockers. I can get one, and you see on the, I can get you to see that there. You see right on the top there, I have a quarter, half, and a quarter, 3/8, and half right inside it. So the way that looks, if I was to cut one open, you have the largest thread on the bottom, then the smaller, and then the smaller thread even deeper still. So you basically would thread the rod in until it stops, and then you would thread it in from there. Okay. So we have the single for the wood knockers, like you see here. These are great for anything that has post tension cable, or also obviously sitting below the rebar there. Okay. This guy on the right is he's working with maybe these two guys in the back that are running the layout. They're going to mark with spray paint, like you see, where the anchors need to go, and then someone is going to go behind, and they're going to drive this unit in to the wood form. There's some nails that will poke through here. Okay. That's what it looks like when they're all laid out. And then after the concrete is cured and the forms are pulled off, typically the nails will come off with the form, but if they don't, they're kind of they have little scores in them, so you can just tap them off with a hammer, and you see the anchors sticking through the ceiling right there. So again, really simple on the back end to hang assemblies while you're up on the lift or on the ladder. Talk about the double and triple threads. This is a really good snapshot of what those look like inside. The difference between our triple threads or double threads and anyone else's is that we have that ICC approval for every size. Anyone else is going to be locked, and our old discontinued units, they'll get ICC code approval for the largest size, but the smallest size do not carry that code approval. So we carry code approval through all three sizes or two sizes, depending on if it's a double or triple. And that's a big benefit, particularly when we're talking about cracked concrete in those tension zones. Okay. Then on the metal decking, here's another good picture, another good example of this. Again, the total station will lay out your points. Then I'm going to go along with a carbide hole saw on a drill with an extension. I'm going to drill the hole. I'm going to take the bang it. I'm going to insert it into the hole, and then I'm going to step on it, and it's going to lock between the fins and this plate right into the corrugated metal. Okay. The one downside to that is with these different flutes, there's kind of some areas where we might need to put an anchor that could be on an angle. Okay, so you see in this picture on the far right, we can do the top of the flutes very easily with these. We can do the bottom of the flutes very easily with these. But when we're talking about going into the side of the flute, we obviously can't install these at an angle. These have to be perpendicular to the floor, right? So we have the DeWalt deck insert that you can utilize. That's what I spoke about earlier. So now I would drill a hole into the slope on the flute. I can drop this in, and the self-tapping screws are already mounted in there. It's already pre-assembled, and I set it up in its orientation so that it will be attached to the two top flutes that run next to the installation site. That's kind of what it looks like out in the field. So they're kind of set at different orientations depending on where the anchor needs to be. But with the DDIs, you can do top, bottom, and then obviously the sides. Okay. Couple of new things from us along the same line is what we call a bridge bar. So these are just plates. So if you're using the bangets out in the field and you run into a situation where you need to drill into the side of that slope, now I can put a bridge bar across, and I just pop this into the bridge bar here. Okay, so similar to the DDI, except I'm using the existing bangets that are already out in the field or already out on your job. The thing that's new, this is real exciting, is we've kind of structured or overhauled the bangets, but we've also added push-ins. Okay, so this will have a push-in mechanism. This is a 3/8. I can break the membrane. I can do it here. I can break the membrane with this, I can push it in, and now it's engaged. So I'm saving even more time by not having to thread this into the anchor. I can just Have a trapeze set up. I get up on the scissor lift. I find my 2 points that are sticking through the ceiling, and I push those in, and they're completely locked and engaged. So really quick installation on the back end of that. I have that for the pan decking, and then I have push-ins also available in the wood knocker. Okay. The last thing we have that's new is a coupler too. So I have a push-in coupler. So if I have that DDI system, or maybe I just have threaded rod that I need to have an extension for, I can have this threaded on, and now I can just push in and lock into play my extension for my threaded rod. Okay. So we have push-in couplers, we have push-in wood knockers, and then we have push-in bangets for the decking. Cool. All right. What are we doing on? I didn't check. Let me see if we're doing any questions here. No, not yet. Okay, perfect. So the next 2 styles that we have are direct fastening and adhesive. Okay, so direct fastening is going to be your powder actuated. There we go. You're going to use some sort of propellant, so it could be a load like you see here, and then we're going to use pin. Okay, and we have 3 different methods to do this, and they all kind of have positives and negatives. There's a cordless, and this slide actually goes up in power. So cordless will have the least amount of power, but it's the quietest. There's no certification needed. There's no gas, and there's no powder. Okay, so it's really simple. It's basically a 20-volt battery. I fire the pin, and I can lock it into steel or concrete. Okay. Then the next one has a little more power, and this is probably in the electrical world the more popular of the 2. The holding value and the size of the pins is a little bit stronger on the C5. This is a Legacy Powers unit. This will take a gas cartridge. So the gas cartridge is inserted into the gun, and then I have a small battery on the heel that sparks that gas, and that's what drives the pin. Okay, so positives to this are more power, increase in reliability. The gun actually has a lifetime free service, so if it's not working for any reason, we'll take care of that for you. The downside to it is you need to have that fuel cell. So you need to make sure you have fuel cells on site and in stock. And then there's a little bit of an odor to it. And if you're working at elevation, let's say you have a job out in Denver, these have a hard time working at higher elevations. Okay? And then the last one is powder. Okay, and that's probably the one that you're most familiar with. You've seen a lot of different brands out there. Ramset, Hilti has some powder actuated, and then we have a full line of powder actuated as well. So we go up from residential and homeowner grade all the way to a 27 caliber, and that unit that you see there on the bottom is a fully automatic. So that'll take 10 loads and 10 pins, and I can go right down the line and not have to worry about recocking or reloading the gun to shoot in my pins. Okay. All 3 of these we can utilize what we call internally our stickies. So you kind of see down on the bottom right, we have some cable caps. We actually have some threaded rod hangers there, or some conduit clips, and those are all tacked in with those pins. And they're done very, very quickly and very easily because there's no holes that need to be drilled. So I can have a situation like this where I just have some lighter loads. I need to hang cable, or I need to hang some MC, or maybe a box that's elevated or descended from the ceiling. I can really easily clip those in with the powder actuator, with the powder gun, the gas gun, or the CCN, the cordless gun, and put my assemblies into those fixtures. Okay. Really big application for this is temp lighting. So you see that building there. There's a ton of temporary lighting that's been put into play, and it just goes real quickly. Okay, so it's not load bearing. That's probably eventually going to come down, and it's extremely quick and easy to get those clips to hang the lights up. Okay. So full run of not only the install tool, but also the pins, and then the different drive mechanisms, so the fuel cells or the powder actuated. We also do certification on these. So if you need to be certified for powder actuated, We can do that online or we can do that in person. So we have guys in each region. I'm sure there's a couple guys on the Philly team that could certify your crew or certify your group. Or if you just want to have them do it online, they can do it online as well. Okay. And then the last piece is adhesives. In the electrical industry, you don't see a lot of this. It's more typically in structural, or we're doing some doweling, or maybe adding or supplementing a foundation. We're adding more rebar. But when we are installing light poles or anything where we have a really deep embedment, so if there's something that's extremely heavy, maybe some overhead signs, or you know, some sort of structural piece, then we go to the adhesives, because our mechanical anchors, these guys here, typically max out at about 6 inches of depth. So anything above that, now we're starting to look at getting into an acrylic or a pure epoxy. Okay. That install or that picture you see on the right is just that. It's a light tower or a light pole that's out in a parking lot. They're putting in a piece of threaded rod like this, and we're adhering that with that looks like the pure epoxy. So we do have 4 different levels, or there's actually 2 styles. There's an epoxy and an acrylic, and then we have different levels of holding value for each. So there's actually 4 products, and they come in a variety of different sizes and mixtures. Okay. And that is really about it. The last piece I wanted to add was just the resources. So in addition to myself and the local team, we have on the anchor side, we have a full lineup or a full team of field engineers. So these guys are in the field. They're working every day. They're doing pull tests. They're working with your engineers. They're working with your groups to make sure that the product that's spec'd is correct, or they're looking for substitutions or different ways to do complete applications that maybe are different from what was spec'd. So there are a ton of different reasons why we would engage with these guys, but they're excellent resources. Jason Wagner is, for the most part, the guy in New Jersey, and then we have Dave as well. We've got two of the best, I think, in the country. Both of those guys are rock stars. I can help you engage with them, or get with your local rep, and we can get you engaged with them. But great resource to have out there. This team is actually growing significantly. I was talking with Jay earlier. We're hiring a ton of people in this capacity, so it's a good time to be on the DeWalt team. But we'll have some additional resources there. And then the other thing is we've got 2 different guides. We have a buyer's guide that kind of is really just sizes, SKUs, and different types of anchors. So it's a little bit smaller and a little bit more simple. And then we have the tech guide. And the tech guide has all your shear and tension loads, your minimum embedments. It has your installation direction or instructions. So it really dives into the meat and potatoes of all of those different anchors and fastening pieces. That one's about this thick. I carry both of those in my backpack every day because I typically need some information from one of those. So we can get you either of those if you need them. They're also available online. If you go to the DeWalt site, which is just dewalt.com, down at the bottom, there's a connection to the anchor site. The anchor site has recently been redone, and it is phenomenal. So if you have any anchor questions or if you need any additional info, anchors.dewalt.com is the site there. And you can also get links there to the software that we spoke about at the beginning. Okay. So with that, I'll open it up. If anyone has questions, we can fire off. If not, I appreciate everyone's time and hanging in there and listening. And hopefully you had some takeaways that you can bring back to your workplace.
Aaron, thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for Aaron at this time? Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask away, or by all means, please use the chat function and I will ask your question for you. Well, we're waiting to see if anyone has any questions, Aaron. I just think it's amazing that you guys have all those ICC code approvals on your installation hangers. I said, that's an awesome thing to have. It's one less thing for the contractor to worry about to make sure he or she is or is not in code compliance. And then with your dust suppression system, meeting that OSHA Table 1 1926 1153 standard is a game changer, especially for if you work in a healthcare facility where irritants are and dust is just an everyday hassle that we're dealing with. So really, really cool engineered solutions for the job site there, time and money saving, really awesome stuff. So I can't thank you enough for spending the hour with us this morning and sharing a little bit about what DeWalt has to offer our members. And I'm sure DeWalt will have a booth set up in Nashville at the convention this year. So please stop by, give them a visit, and maybe actually see some run-throughs of how this stuff works right there on the show floor. So,
yep, yeah, absolutely. We've got some new stuff coming out too in the back half. We've got some new stuff that had come out already, but the back half of this year looks pretty positive. So I think that'll be a good show to attend.
Excellent. Well, I'm not seeing any questions, so you must have done a great job and answered everyone's questions the first time. So I will be sending out a brief survey to everyone. Thank you so much for attending this morning. Appreciate your time. Aaron, can't thank you enough for being a part of the Industry Hour. Excellent presentation. Truly enjoyed it. Thank you.
Great. Good stuff. Thank you all.
If I receive any questions, Aaron, I'll be sure to pass them along to you. And
yeah.
I will, I'll send you over a copy of the recording of your presentation as well.
Great. Appreciate that. And yeah, feel free to send my name or contact if anyone needs additional info.
Excellent. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Take care. Thanks.